Welcome to Too Fond of Books. My name is Janelle and this is a book haul. I feel like it's been a while since I've done a book haul. That could be because I never leave my house. Anyways, let's just dive right into this. Yesterday, Erin and I went to the used bookstore and came out with some fantastic finds. First up, and this Erin actually found this one, London Fog, a Biography by Christine L. Corton. This one just sounds so fascinating. In popular imagination, London is a city of fog. The classic London fogs, the thick yellow pea soupers, were born in the industrial age of the early 19th century. The first globally notorious instance of air pollution, they remain a constant feature of cold, windless winter days until clean air legislation in the 1960s brought about their demise. Christine L. Corton tells the story of these epic London fogs, their dangers and beauty, and their lasting effects on our culture and imagination. So that just sounds fantastic. Then I found, and this is great because I've been looking for this for a while. I've been trying to collect all of them so I can read this saga. This is A Horseman Riding by R.F. Delderfield. This is book 2, Post of Honor. So I've had the first one in this, and I think even the second. But I've been waiting for this one so that I can read this saga. This is the second part. And it is set after the Great War, and as the aftermath of one war gave way to preparations for another, again it was Paul Craddock's faith and firmness that helped the area to overcome slump and misery, to recharge its collective batteries and face new dangers with fortitude and self-confidence. So I was excited to find that. Then I also found a Jean Plaidy. I've been slowly collecting hers as well, and this is The Haunted Sisters. This is the sequel to The Three Crowns. Betrayed by his friends and forsaken by the daughters he so loved, James II made a perilous escape to France. Mary could not forgive him for the death of gallant Monmouth. All her love now centered on William, her husband, the new King of England. Anne disliked Mary, hated William, and coveted the crown. Her ambitions were encouraged by the audacious Sarah Churchill, who sought power as her soldier husband sought glory. The memory of the king across the water was to haunt them all. I love Jean Plaidy's historical fiction. This one was published in 1966. And then I found a Nigel Tranter. I've just recently, within the last couple of years, discovered him. He's a Scottish author, writes historical fiction, and so I was super excited to find this, Children of the Mist. Our race is royal was the proud claim of the MacGregors. Yet for all their history and fighting qualities, they were a small clan and their lands too close for comfort to the great clan Campbell. But by the end of the 16th century, the heritage of their new young chieftain, Alistair MacGregor, was a poor thing indeed. Not only was much of the land lost, but their principal threat, Black Duncan of the Cowl, Campbell of Glenorchy, as clever as he was unscrupulous, had the ear of the king. Now, I can't remember when Nigel Tranter wrote. Oh yeah, this one was 1992. And then I found a Victoria Holt. I collect her when I find her as well. I really like her historical fiction, or some of it's historical fiction and some of it is just, I would say maybe romantic suspense. Yeah, I like Victoria Holt. This is The Queen's Confession. Marie Antoinette, the last queen of France. So gay and so tragic. As wife of the Dauphin of France, later Louis XVI, she made the huge and sumptuous palace of Versailles her playground and did not heed the cries of the starving peasants clamoring at the gates. Frivolous and pleasure-loving, Marie Antoinette danced her way to revolution and disaster. So I love that this is about Marie Antoinette, and we're going to get the revolution and the terror, and that's a period of history that I find really, really interesting. And then these were my great finds. I couldn't believe that they were at the bookstore, especially the second one, but I found A Wicked Conceit by Anna Lee Huber. This is from her Lady Darby series, and A Perilous Perspective. And this is the most recent. And look at this book. I don't think that it's been read. This one has been read, but I think this one, and this one came out this year. So I think someone was given a book and they didn't want it and they took it to the used bookstore. This one was from 2021 and this one's from 2022. So I was super excited about this. These are historical mysteries set in Scotland in these two are set in 1832. This one is in March 32 and this one is in July 32, and I love this series. So that was a very good visit to the used bookstore. Plus, I just really enjoyed browsing on the shelves and just looking at books. It's something that I really enjoy doing. Now, I have some more books, and it's been so long, I can't really remember where these books came from. More than likely the thrift store. There's a couple of new ones that I got from Amazon. Probably they were on sale. So let's just dive straight in. This is Never Go Back by Robert Goddard. I enjoy his books. For a group of ex-RAF comrades, it is to be the reunion to end all reunions. A weekend in the Scottish castle where they were guinea pigs in a psychological experiment many years before. Most of them hadn't seen each other since. But the convivial atmosphere on the journey north is quickly shattered by the apparent suicide of one of their party. Then a second death occurs. A sense of foreboding descends on the group. It appears that the past is coming back to haunt them, a past none of them has ever spoken about. Their recollections of it are all frighteningly different. So what really happened? That sounds great. Then this was a great find. I remember that I did find this one at the thrift store, and I think I paid $2 or $3 for it. This is The Black Creek Stopping House by Nellie McClung. Nellie McClung is a famous Canadian journalist, reporter. She was also part of the famous Six, I think that was called. They wrote a petition, they did a lot of work for the government, and as a direct result of their work, there was great advancements towards women getting the vote in Canada. So she's a pretty big Canadian hero. Someone put this stamp in here. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that, but it's a Canadian stamp of Nellie McClung. She was born in 1873 and she died in 1951. And I just love this cover, this edition. I don't really know much about it. It's a short story collection, The Black Creek Stopping House and Other Stories, published in 1912. And that's when this book came out. To the pioneer women of the West who made life tolerable and even comfortable for the others of us, who fed the hungry, advised the erring, nursed the sick, cheered the dying, comforted the sorrowing, and performed the last sad rites for the dead. So I think I was interested because this is a pioneer book about the settling of the West, and my great-grandparents were pioneers. They emigrated to Canada in 1912, which I think is really interesting, and they settled on a homestead in Alberta, and so the timing is just, exactly right for when my great-grandparents came, so I think that's really cool. I found another book in the Henry Gamage series. This is Arrow Pointing Nowhere by Elizabeth Daly. So these are kind of bookish mysteries, I think you could say, written in the 40s and 50s. I don't know where this one is in the series, but it was published originally in 1944. Take one grand house, stuff it with staff, and make it home to several generations. If they send their sons to Oxford and occasionally knock each other off, you've got a country house murder mystery, that classic of English crime fiction. But if the boys are at Yale, odds are that you're reading a New York mansion mystery, a genre largely invented and perfected by Elizabeth Daly. Henry Gamage, Daly's gentleman sleuth, does make occasional jaunts to the country, but now he's back on the Upper East Side, receiving missives suggesting that all is not right at the elegant Fenway Manse. He will, of course, unravel the mystery, but even more delightful than the solution is the peek at what the New York Times called 1940s New York at its most charming. So yeah, I'm excited about that one too. This one is one I found on sale through Amazon. This is The Merchant's Mark by Pat McIntosh, a Gil Cunningham mystery. This is historical mystery. I remember reading at least one from this series years ago, and then I completely forgot about it. The barrel should have contained books. Instead, it held treasure and a severed head. Gil Cunningham and his old acquaintance Glasgow merchant Augie Morrison had been expecting a delivery of books from the Low Countries and found the gruesome substitute. They report their find to the provost, but at the inquest the next morning, Morrison is accused of murder and imprisoned. To prove the merchant's innocence, Gil sets out with his friend and future father-in-law, Maistre Pierre, the French master mason, to track down the treasure's owner and identify the dead man. The trail they follow leads them from the court of James IV at Stirling, an unexpected death on the bare slopes of the Pentland Hills. Now, I can't remember when this is set. I'm pretty sure, yeah, it's medieval, 1492. And then I found another in the Peculiar Crimes Unit series. I'm collecting as I find them. This is Bryant and May and the Bleeding Heart. I absolutely love this series. It's set in London. London's wiliest detectives, Arthur Bryant and John May, are back on the case in this fiendishly clever new mystery. And when a cemetery becomes the scene of a crime, neither secrets nor bodies stay buried. And then I found, this one I also found at the thrift store, The Last Daughter of York by Nicola Cornick. This is a Tudor historical mystery, and I do really enjoy Tudor era mysteries or just fiction. Inspired by the enduring mystery of the princes in the Tower, Nicola Cornick cleverly interprets the events into a dazzling novel set between a present day mystery and a country on the brink of Tudor rule. So I think it's interesting that it's dual timelines. In the winter of 1483, Francis Lovell is Richard III's Lord Chamberlain and confidant, but the threat of Henry Tudor's rebels has the king entrusting to Francis and his wife Anne his most crucial mission, protecting the young Richard of York, his brother's surviving son, and a threat to Henry's claim to the throne. 2 years later, Richard III is dead, and Anne hides the young Prince of York while Francis is hunted by agents of the new king, Henry VII. Running out of options to keep her husband and the boy safe, Anne uses the power of an ancient family relic to send them away, knowing that in doing so she will never see Francis again. In the present day, Serena Warren has been haunted by her past ever since her twin sister Caitlin disappeared. But when Caitlin's bones are discovered interred in a church vault that hasn't been opened since the 18th century, the police are baffled. Piecing together local folklore that speaks of a magical relic with her own hazy memories of the day Caitlin vanished, Serena begins to uncover an impossible secret that her grandfather has kept hidden, one that connects her to Anne, Francis, and the young Duke of York. So that sounds great. And then I was super excited to find in the thrift store Auntie Poldi and the Sicilian Lions by Mario Giordano. I love this series. It is so quirky and fun. This is a mystery set in Italy. The author is German, however, and so this is actually translated from the German, even though it's set in Italy. And this is the first one, so I love this. The first Auntie Poldi adventure, in which Poldi discovers a small but heavily guarded paradise, jousts with death, and solves the mystery of a missing lion. This series is really fun. I also found Death Comes to the School by Catherine Lloyd. This is a Regency era historical mystery that I really love. I've read now this entire series, and it's just really fun. In the English village of Curland St. Mary, few things are worse than having one's reputation besmirched. A struggling marriage is one. Murder is another. And so I don't want to read too much more because this is a good way into the series. And then I found this on sale at Amazon and I just had to pick it up. The Murder of Roger Ackroyd is my absolute favorite Agatha Christie. I already owned a copy of this book, but this one had some additions that made me very interested. First, it has an introduction by Louise Penny, which was great. And then it also has a foreword by James Pritchard. And then at the back, it has a couple articles written by Agatha Christie. So we have, hang on, I just want to make sure this is the first one. A letter to my publisher. She wrote this as if Poirot was writing to the publisher. It first appeared in the American omnibus Hercule Poirot Master Detective in 1936. And so that was just a really fun little article. She was just totally having fun with that. And then there's also an article called Creating Poirot that she wrote in 1938. And then there is also Agatha Christie on Poirot's favorite cases that she wrote to introduce the serialization of her novel Appointment with Death in the Daily Mail in 1938. So this just seemed like a great thing to have as part of my Agatha Christie collection. And then last but not least, I have Sherlock Holmes and the Ghosts of Bly by Donald Thomas and Other New Adventures of the Great Detective. Have you ever seen a ghost, Mr. Holmes? Asked Victoria Temple. And Sherlock Holmes, at the heights of his power in 1898, must face a new challenge, one that plunges the great detective into the realm of the supernatural. Miss Temple has been found guilty, but also insane, at her trial for murdering a child under her care. She is locked away in the Broadmoor Lunatic Asylum, and worse still, she fully believes in her own guilt. But were the hauntings at the Elizabethan manor house of Bly a vision of the walking dead, perhaps, rather than delusions of her tormented mind? Or could it be that a criminal conspiracy is to blame for the psychic phenomenon, as well as a second murder cunningly concealed in the past? In the company of Dr. Watson, the indefatigable Holmes will track down the perpetrators through the occult underworld of Victorian London. That just sounded really fun. So that is my book haul. Please let me know in the comment section if you've read any of these books and where you think I should start. Which kind of grabs your attention? Which one do you think I should start with to read next? Because these are all fantastic and I'm excited to get to all of them. So that's it for me for today for this book haul, and I will see you for another video soon. Bye.